Hello and welcome to Daily Spark with Dr. Angela, where we enlighten, inspire, and empower you to become your best self. The tongue is a small thing that makes grand speeches, but a tiny spark can set a great forest on fire. And today, we want to get you fired up about food and faith. Our special guest today is Shalynne Barr. She has her MBA and is a CNC. You can visit her at healthcoachshalynne.com. She is out of the Highland, Michigan area. That's right, we're talking food and faith. How can we honor God in our nutritional outlet? So let me tell you a little bit more about Mrs. Barr. She was born in Detroit to teenage parents who were 19 years old at the time. With just graduating from high school, her parents were uncertain as to what the future would hold for her, and they were living with very modest means with their respective families and were not prepared to raise a child. Well, her mother felt the pressure to have an abortion at the time, but God had other plans. After a successful delivery, Shalynne's parents decided not to move forward with parenting responsibilities, and she was left to live with her grandparents, as both of her parents left her to lead their own separate lives. Well, she was finally reunited with her mother at the age of 6, who was living in California at the time. Life came full circle as the bond between she and her mother became very strong later in life. Her mother is Aisha Williams. She's a positive influence in the lives of many. The unexpected death of her mother in 2004 prepared her forward to have the same impact and greater on the lives of others while following in her mother's footsteps. In the midst of a packed-out church with over 750 people to celebrate her mother's life, she thought, how do I want to be remembered? That one phrase has played over and over in her head, forging the way for her to live a life, an outward life, if you will. This outward way of living has led Shalynne to a lifestyle that brings others 100% fulfillment and happiness. She is currently the director of CareNet Pregnancy Center in Detroit, where she now oversees the operations of the center. She operates her own nonprofit called Sit and Knit, where she and her volunteers knit and crochet hats and scarves for the homeless community. She is a certified nutrition coach where she has an extreme passion for health and fitness and feels called to mentor people on how to take care of their natural bodies through faith in God, as her very own 15-year addiction to potato chips has been broken. She holds her BS in telecommunications with a minor in public relations and advertising. She also has her MBA in entrepreneurship. Shalynne is funny, witty, creative with arts and crafts, and has become a source of inspiration and motivation to many. She now resides in Novi, Michigan with her husband Terrence of 22 years. They have 2 adult sons, Sean and Javon, who are both in college. Don't just sit there. Do something. Make a difference in this world. Hashtag quote. So without any further ado, let's bring Mrs. Barr on the line. Hello, hello, hello. How are you? Thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, hello. Thank you for having me.
Hello, hello, hello. I am so excited to have you on. You know, when we're talking about food, because everybody loves food, I love how you say that you were a former potato chip addict, because everybody has their brand out there. There's somebody right now calling out these names of the various, bags of potato chips saying, yes, it's like, wavy cut, or you want that spicy or that not, whatever it is. I love that, because this is something that is so true for everyone. But yet we know, our bodies are supposed to be our temples, but we are doing some stuff to our temples, right? So let me ask you, what was your wake-up moment? What was that moment that you decided, if I don't get it in line right now, tomorrow may be too late?
Wow, and I'm just pausing for a second, just going back to remembering that moment, and it really was life-changing, very impactful. So what happened for me is my husband and I, we've usually lived in homes with a couple of stories. You got upstairs, downstairs, this type of thing, and typically the laundry room had been in the basement. Well, I started noticing that if I was all the way upstairs and I had to go all the way downstairs, maybe to put a load of clothes in and then come all the way up the stairs, I was tired. Why am I tired? Just going up and down the stairs. And then to couple with that, I had a routine doctor appointment. You know how you go in for your yearly visit? And the results came back that my cholesterol was high, okay, that my white blood cell count was off track. I was anemic, and, it was just a huge wake-up moment, and my doctor told me that I needed to lose 30 pounds. So thus, this is just, my mind is just blown, like, what is going on with me? And I'm like, then that's the reason why I've been tired going up and down the stairs, because my health is starting to fail me. And that was my moment that I had to make some changes.
And I think, like you said, we've all had that moment where we go in and we get the results back, and we think we're going to get an A+ on our card, or maybe a B+, and come to find out we are living like a C- life.
Right.
And it's like, oh no. But if we're realistic with ourselves, we know exactly why that is, that extra trip to that fast food place, those late night munchies. It's really starting to take a toll on us. Now, how did you turn your self-proclaimed potato chip addiction, and which I love it, right? Mine used to be Krispy Kreme donuts. I'm going to put that out there. I grew up in on the East Coast, and every time that hot now sign came on, I felt compelled to stop. And I went, you have to stop doing that. Moving away, it really and truly helped because there was no Krispy Kreme there. But then understanding that this is not God's intention for us. We are not supposed to be ruled by our emotions. We are not supposed to be pulled in that direction. But how did you turn your potato chip addiction into a health business?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I would say, just to speak to what you talked about, like where you lived and what you were accustomed to, that was really the issue for me, because if you live in Michigan, then you eat better made potato chips, hands down. That is it. That is what you do. And so I realized that I was leaning upon those potato chips way more than just a side item to go beside an occasional turkey burger. It was beyond too much. And so I would say for me, it was really through studying and spending time in God's Word that a light bulb turned on to make me realize that God wants us to be a steward over everything that He's given us. And so if potato chips, was becoming an addiction for me, and I would run to those potato chips versus running to God when I was going through emotional things or when I was having a problem, that was completely off kilter, and there was no way that was pleasing to God. So what I started doing is, when I would go through different things, instead of going to the gas station to get potato chips or to the corner store or asking somebody to pick up some for me, I would stop and I would pray and ask God to help me with whatever it is that I was going through. And before I knew it, that addiction was broke. Yes.
It's just interceding on your own behalf, just coming to that point where you go, cut it out. We have to stop this behavior. Gotcha. There's nothing like having to quiet it. I think people that, if you've ever exercised in your life, and especially if you've decided, I'm gonna be a jogger this year, and you're gonna go run, even if it's just a few blocks, even if it's not 10 miles or anything, we have to learn to silence that little voice in her head that says, oh, yeah, don't keep running, don't exercise. The same is true for those addiction things that we have. Step away from those cookies. Put that, put it down. Don't do it. Chips, donuts, whatever it is, step away from the table. I totally and completely agree with you. Well, we have, I want to kind of shift gears just a little bit, and I want to ask you about your nonprofit, Sit and Knit. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? I think that it sounds like a very novel idea. Like, we need to do this. If it's you and volunteers are taking care of the homeless. Tell me more about that.
Well, yeah, I, as you mentioned in my bio, I am very crafty. Every craft that I have done, just a total gift from God, I've taught myself. And so several years ago, I taught myself how to knit. And my husband and our boys were off on a trip in New York one year. And people have been contacting me, well, I love to knit too. Maybe we should all get together and knit. And I'm like, that would be a great idea. Not nothing earth-shattering. People all over America get together and knit. But it came to me on, let's figure out, why don't we knit for someone or a group of people? Where could we be most impactful? Because we can sit around in a circle and make dishcloths all day, okay? so let's do something that's impactful. Well, with living in one of the, I like to say, the coldest states in the world, in Michigan, who else could we better serve? And before I knew it, I was starting to Google different areas of different pockets that we can help, and some homeless, I found some things on the internet for homeless people and how you can best help them. And so that's how Sit and Knit started. So we, you can go to a mainstream store, your Walmart, your Target, and buy things. But I found that people were more impacted when they handmade an item and gave it to someone in need. And that's how Sit and Knit started. So we have, for 3 years now, we've been knitting and crocheting hats and scarves, and we do have some mittens that people make for homeless people. And we distribute them from Valentine's Day to Thanksgiving, and we call that our giving season. And that's what we do. Wow. It works. I love it. I love it.
That is so wonderful, so kind. Just to not only think about, like you said, you could buy it anywhere, you could do anything, or you could just sit in a circle and knit all day just because it's, comfortable or relaxing. But to do it with the purpose. And, I have found that when you make something for another person, the person who receives it, they really and truly do feel the love that was put into that item, no matter what that item is, no matter how simple or complex. It's like, wow, you did this for me, and they really and truly do feel the intention behind the gift. I think that is absolutely wonderful. Now, go ahead.
And I wanted to just quickly say one other thing. We have on each item, it's tagged, and it says, this gift was handmade for you. And then on the flip side, it says, God loves you. It doesn't have a name, made by Susan Smith. It doesn't have anything. It's definitely just proclaiming that this was made for you and that God loves you. And I've started to get feedback from the homeless community just saying, thank you for doing this for us. And that far outweighs anything you could ever do, just to know that you have really helped someone in need.
Most definitely. And I like that touch, because it's not about you. It's about them. I love that. Well, before we go to break, can you please let everyone know how can they get in contact with you, just in case they've joined us a little bit late?
Okay, so as we know, my first name, I like to spell my first name. People are like, what is that? It's Shalynne, Shalynne. Last name is Barr, Barr. You can reach me at www.healthcoachshalynne.com. And our phone numbers, we have a direct phone number. It's 509-0096.
Alrighty, listeners, don't you go anywhere. We'll be back right after this. And we are back. Thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I'm your host, Dr. Angela Tester. Today I am speaking with Shalynne Barr. She is a health coach. Shalynne, you can find her in the Highland, Michigan area. We are talking food and faith today, folks. How can we honor God in our nutritional outlook? So, Shalynne, please, let me ask you this. Food and faith. Someone's going, I don't understand. How do we make the connection? So my question to you is, how has your faith caused you to become a more healthy person?
Yeah, that's I'm so passionate about that. But yes, my faith has really, really, honestly caused me to become healthy because I want to honor God. I want to honor Him in my body because, as I mentioned earlier, our bodies, right, is the temple of the Holy Ghost. He's given us all things and has asked us to become a good steward. So what I do is I no longer use my fork as a weapon. Okay, I know that's deep. Somebody thinks you're going too far, but I don't use my fork as a weapon. I use my fork to put into my body things that are healthy, nutritious, and things that will give me the energy and everything that I need so I can walk out my purpose. And that's all connected to my faith in God.
I love that. I love that. Your fork is no longer a weapon. There was someone saying, "Oh, that's a mic drop moment right there." Yes, that's what the problem is. But and it's so interesting that you say that because when we look at these shows that are like documentaries, and we're talking about food or excess, or we're talking about lifestyle, we've become so accustomed to the indulgence and the availability of food in this country that we don't realize that sometimes it's okay to have less instead of more. I know, we're always just like, I want it all, just give it to me. But depending on what you're eating, sometimes less is actually a better thing. So in this passion that you have for trying to be a healthier person, how do you think that connects with the honoring God? Like, how many times people say, well, whatever I do, I want to make sure that I honor God in my purpose, in my life. So how is your passion honoring God?
Yeah, I feel that if we're just 24/7 potato chips, ice cream, and because there's nothing wrong with that. You cannot eat it all the time, though. That's what becomes the issue. But if we're passionate about being healthy, then that's God's avenue to use us in the earth. Because I've seen when people are in poor health, and maybe, and I'm not trying to slam anyone at all. This is not judgmental, but we've all seen presenters that are up presenting, for example, and maybe they're just out of breath. You know what I mean? They're just out of breath. They're really struggling to get through their presentation versus someone that, maybe has a little bit more vigor, a little bit more energy, a little bit more vitality, and you can see the difference there. And so what I am endeavoring to do with honoring God through eating healthy and with that passion connected in there is to be an example and to show others that there is another way. There is a way. And there's been conversation in times gone past where you can work for a treat, and that's something I probably can explain to you later. But say if you really love popcorn, let's set up something so that on Fridays you're having that popcorn because you worked all week with maintaining what you're eating and focusing and drinking your water, and then let's have that popcorn on Friday. How does that honor God? How does that honor God? Because the Bible talks about put a knife to your throat. The Bible can be kind of tough. I don't know if you realize that. But the Bible talks about putting a knife to your throat. You know, if you're gluttonous, it talks about don't eat too many sweet treats. And I mean, there are some scriptures that you're just like, I think that's applying to my life. You know what I mean?
And if we just take the time to read, right, then we really have been given the instructions.
Yes, and if we take the time not to read over certain scriptures, that's true. That's the key. So,
that is so true, right?
We'll stop at all the good ones. We walk by faith, not by sight. We'll stop at I'm healed from the top of my head to the soles of my feet by the stripes of Jesus. I'm healed. All of this. But then when we get to those tough scriptures in Proverbs that talk about you can't have too much sweet treats, you're like, oh, this ain't for me. This ain't for me. We'll go into the devil is a lie. We'll do things like that. It's like, wait, what? Huh?
Right.
The same Bible. The same Bible.
I love it because, and I'm laughing because it is so incredibly true. And listeners, I know you guys are laughing too because you know someone who does that. If it's, I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand and say, it was me,
right.
but we all know someone who has done that, where we pick and choose according to our mood, according to the discussion, according to how much it hits us, or slaps us in the face. That is so true, so true. Thank you so much for saying that. Because it is, 1,000% the truth. Oh, I love it. I love it. Now, I know that your mother's legacy has really inspired you and encourages you and really motivates you to help others. But is there any particular thing or why is it impactful for you as a health coach to make sure that you continue with this legacy?
Well, my mom, the way that she passed away, Dr. Angela, she actually suffered from blood clots, and it was one found in her leg, and they started to travel up her body, and then they settled in her lungs. And so that's ultimately how we lost her, and it was very sudden, something. No one is ever ready for someone to pass away. You know what I mean? So when I say it was sudden, but it was really sudden. Like one day, and then the next day, it's like, whoa, what?
Yeah.
But my mom, she was a forerunner, I like to say, on certain things. Like I clearly remember her baking sugarless apple pies, and we're like, well. Yeah, we're like, Mom, well, these pies taste good. It just needs some sugar. I mean, I remember her making those, and she'd be like, here, Shalynne, come and taste this. And I'm like, Mom, like you trying to be respectful, but I'm like, if she would just put some sugar in this, we'd be good to go. But I know what she was after. She was very healthy, and even towards the end where she could have had the option of having a filter put into her system in order to kind of help those blood clots kind of make, dissipate and break up. She didn't want that. She believed in trying to be healthy. She didn't really like the doctors, and we varied there a little bit. Because I will get a bump on my wrist, and I am running to the doctor. Like, what is this? I put wart cream on it, and it's not going away.
And it's not going away. Help.
It's not going away. So that was one place that we did vary. But in honoring her legacy and how she, helped people and how she wanted to see the best for people, that is the place where I picked up the baton, and I live that outward lifestyle. So no matter if I'm at the crisis pregnancy or the pregnancy resource center, my daytime job, or if I am helping someone through sit and knit, or if I am in the mode of being the health coach to help someone, everything that I do is in that outward vein of helping someone else. And when you live like that and you're not focusing on yourself, you get, it's interesting, but you get an amazing type of reward on the back end where the fulfillment is not necessarily monetary. You know what I mean? It's not I'm about to make $1 billion off. It's the reward of seeing someone warm, right? Or seeing that someone has made a decision to carry their baby, you know, just like how my mom was, you know, getting ready to decide to terminate her pregnancy, or seeing someone live a healthy lifestyle where they're able to fulfill their calling in life. That's the reward that I get. I love it.
And it's so wonderful when you can make the connection between the two. You know, I really like that. Now, what would you say is the greatest hindrance to helping your clients? You know, because some people are going to resist when it comes to change. Yes. People can be a little difficult. So what would you say is one of the greatest hindrances that you have when it comes to helping your clients?
I love this question. The greatest hindrance is people, they don't like the cost. They don't like the cost of having someone help them become healthy. And that is, it's interesting because I can get a little special here, and I'm like, so you'd rather go to McDonald's, and I don't know if I can drop names, but we'll just say the Golden Arches, or you'd rather go to a fast food restaurant just to be polite, you know what I mean? And you'd rather spend your $2 or $3, you know, on a meal, and you'd like to have your return on investment for you to take cholesterol pills, for you to crash and burn because that iced tea had so much sugar that by 3 o'clock you're bobbing your head at your desk. You know, and so I try to put things in perspective. That $2 or $3 or $4 that you spend at that fast food restaurant, that does you no good in the long run. And so I try to put things into perspective where I have plans that they're really not that expensive, honestly. If you're looking to change the way that you're living, case in point, really quickly, and I'll move on. But I have a menu planning service. So I provide menu plans for clients. You know, they'll get the recipes, the macronutrients, all of that. And that plan breaks down to $4.95 a day over a 60-day period of me coaching you. So if you were to break that $4.95 down to the 24/7 hour unlimited texting and emailing that I allow you to have, just that one component of it, I am working for like 2 cents an hour. Who does that? Who does that? So I'm like, you know, I try to help people to put it in perspective, because you go spend $4.95 in 5 minutes versus you having a health coach that you can spend $4.95 for a whole day worth of service. So that's the biggest hindrance I see from clients. They don't want to pay. They don't want to invest in themselves sometimes.
Oh boy, I can already see the heads nodding of our listeners, because that it seems to hold true. People want change, but people don't want to pay for that change. They want it to just some kind of way. Everything cannot be free. There are some things that are the free 99. You know, that you can. I can give you an intro. I can give you some free stuff, and that's wonderful. But when you're really ready to change, when you really and truly are serious about going to the next level, the next level cost. And depending on which next level you want to go to, you may have to dig a little deeper. But boy, is it worth the investment when you invest in yourself. So right before we go to break again, could you please let everyone know how should they get in contact with you?
Yes. So I love to give a phone number. The phone number is 248-509-0096. And my website is www.healthcoach.com. Shalynne.com, and that's SHALYNNE. And you know what? I should probably go ahead and give the email address. It's livewell@healthcoachshalynne.com.
All righty, listeners, we'll be back right after this. And we are back. Thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I'm your host, Dr. Angela Chester. We are trying to enlighten you, to inspire you, and empower you when it comes to food and faith today. So let me kind of shift gears just a little bit, and let's talk about your book. Now, okay. I'm the type of person that I love a tangible book. Not that I'm not going to ebook, but I love having a tangible book because then I can highlight, make little notes, and do all of that good stuff. So what are some things that your book, Take Me Off the Wait List, and I love the little play on words there, the wait list, how does that help people live life with energy? Because you talked about that before, the energy and this vitality that you're talking about. What are some key things that you want the readers to take away from having purchased your book?
Well, some of the key things, and I will give a little bit of secrets to the sauce. In the book, there's some great things that I have tucked in that I know are going to help people. I do a lot of talking about our mindset and what we think and how what we think can shape us. That's not a new concept, right? It's not new. We know that when you have daily affirmations, that you can focus on those type of things. But I found an interesting twist in that we have only one brain, right? Because we're not aliens. Right. We all have one brain. We use that same brain to function throughout the day, to make choices and make decisions. So if you ever went to driver's training class, right? You've got a driver's license. Did your instructor teach you not to run red lights? Yes. Your instructor taught you not to run red lights because what could happen? You could injure yourself. You could injure someone else. God forbid, you can get a speeding ticket. I mean, it's not a speeding ticket, but you would get a ticket for running a red light. That same brain that has taught you not to run red lights is the exact same brain that you would use to keep yourself from overeating, from indulging, from making poor choices. And I turn that on inside of you in the book. And that is enlightened, and that it turns you on to realize, wait a minute, I've got the same brain that can keep me from doing this one thing, so why am I allowing my brain to help me make poor choices? Do you see the connection there, Dr. Angela?
And I'm loving it. I'm loving it. And I like how you said, we're able to learn all of these various and different things. Right. So don't allow yourself to be shortchanged just because it's food. It's just learning new habits. And it's so funny that you mentioned that, because even with my practice, people will give you all sorts of excuses and reasons as to why they cannot change certain behaviors or why it's their spouse's fault that things aren't going the way that they're supposed to go. But when we take responsibility for ourselves, when we take responsibility for our decisions and decide that, okay, I was doing X, Y, and Z, and it's gotten me to this particular point, and I'm not happy with this result, so I have to stop doing X, Y, and Z. I now have to decide that I need to do 1, 2, 3, or whatever it is, And I think we kind of touched on that before. When you move, when you change the people that you're around, and you change what you're listening to, what you're taking into your body, then it's definitely going to have a more positive result. And I love the holistic approach to how you're doing this, because it's not just our spiritual selves that we need to be concerned about. It's also our physical bodies, because our physical bodies need to have the nutrition so that we can continue to feed our spiritual selves as well. So it really and truly does go hand in hand. Mm-hmm. Now, I know that when people write their books, that there's an overall goal or mission or vision that we have for the information that we're sharing with people. Did you have a particular vision or particular goal or a thing that you wanted to accomplish with writing your book?
Yes, I did, and that's a great question. My goal was for me to write this book, with me not talking at you. I don't want to talk at people. I want to talk to people. I wanted this book to be as if we're sitting down at a table and we're in conversation. And I wanted this book to reach people right where they are. So there's an aspect of the book where there are scriptures. There's 21 scriptures right in the book where you can find what does God's word say about us being healthy. And then there's a section where I talk about that scripture, and there's a section for you to write in, how does the scripture connect with you? There is also an element in the book where we talk about vision and purpose, where you're going to live healthy once you determine why you're here on earth. And how does your health connect with that vision, and will it empower you to fulfill that mission? And we talk about that in the book. So my goal, and my editor said it, when they first read the book, they were like, were you trying to talk right to me? Because that's what I felt when I was like, yeah, duh, that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted. I'm like, ka-ching, perfect. You got exactly what I wanted to talk to someone like Shalynne that ran all the time to eat potato chips. I wanted to talk to people that were bent on, hot dogs, and they have nitrates in it. Let's stop eating that. I wanted to talk to the person, and I want them to walk away feeling empowered, that they can live life with energy and vitality. So you know what you will not find in my book, Dr. Angela?
What's that? You
will not find a whole bunch of health plans and lots of recipes and different things. Well, you have that already. Those things are widely on the market. Let's get past those mechanical things, and let's get to why you're not following those plans. Not cooking those recipes. And let's get behind that, and let's uncover how you can move forward with a healthy, consistent, balanced way of living. What's that lifestyle like? So that's the goal of the book.
I love that. And like you said, we don't need to oversaturate you with what you already know. If that was working, then you wouldn't be looking for something else. So because you're looking for something else, I'm going to give you the something else. And that's so true. Looking at our habits and why do we do what we do, and making sure that we are really being holistic in the approach and looking at all aspects of our lives to make sure that we're covering them all. Giving principles in your book is like you said, it's not always enough. It's the practical teachings that really hit home, making the book a personal experience for each person that reads it. What are some other programs or some other things that, if someone has purchased the book and then they want you to be their coach, what are some other things that they can look forward to from you?
Yeah, so I have several plans. Some people like the idea of a program where, yes, we're working one-on-one, and that works well. And then I have people that want to work in a group aspect. So as we know, there are several, social media, online platforms, and so I will run group programs because people like the idea of someone going into our group and saying, hey, I struggled today, and somebody else replying, I did too, and here's what I did. So I have programs that goes anywhere from 60 days all the way up to 6 months. So my 6-month programs are for my high-end VIP people. They're like, you know what, Shalynne, I want to partner with you, and I need help. And so what I do is these programs, and they're developed and they are customized to my specific client. So if I'm working with someone that has, let's say, an iron deficiency, okay, so we're going to make these recipes match with you, and maybe you have a knee issue, then we're going to make sure that you don't do too many squats, this whole type of thing. And even for the recipes in the meal planning services that I offer, I also customize that. So say if I'm just helping the dad, for example, and maybe he's the primary cook and they have a family of 10, no problem. I can customize my recipes to work for a family of 10. Your shopping lists are there. Everything that you need is all there. So those programs work very well. I am also in the works of developing a gourmet food aspect because people are like, oh, Shalynne, you talk about all these good things, this, that, and the other, but what kind of help can you give me in the kitchen when I open up the cabinet? So I just gave you a little bit of secret to the sauce again, Dr. Angela. But those things are actually, they're underway, and we are most excited to be able to brand ourselves with items that people can use in the kitchen, i.e. spices, i.e. sauces, and then we'll get to practical items of blenders and pots and pans and different things to do more of a practical approach when you're in the kitchen. So we're Health Coach Shalynne is like excited over here, like jumping up and down doing jumping jacks.
Well, let me tell you, but we really and truly need that, and we need to have someone who's going to be as fired up about us as they were about their own personal growth. It's like you have gone from point A to point B, and now you want to show me how to go from point A to point B, and you're going to be my coach. You're going to do those rah-rah moments with me, but you're also going to do those tough moments with me and encourage me and keep me going and get me through because you know that it can be done because you've done it personally. And I think that makes a world of difference. Now, if someone, because I know there's someone listening right now going, I love Shalynne. I think she's awesome. I want her to come and speak at my events, or I want her, where I am. Do you do any type of like signature talk, or do you come and do women's ministry? Can people have that type of access to you?
Yes, they can. And so I do have 2 signature talks. You realize now I like to have fun, and so the titles of my talks they could be a little humorous, but they do get to the point. So the name of one of my talks is Drop Those Potato Chips and Run, okay? So
I like it.
That's the one. And then the second one is You Don't Need Sugar. You Are Sweet Enough.
Nice. I like it because if only people understood. I mean, I know we put sugar in our coffee, we put sugar on our this, that, and the other, but it causes such inflammation. It causes so many issues, problems, and concerns that we really do need to learn how to live with less or not at all, just depending on, what your health issues and concerns are. And being a cancer survivor, I had to learn how to eat differently, how to approach life differently, how to look at things from a different perspective. And I didn't have a lot of changes that I needed to make, but I needed to make changes nonetheless. And, our kitchens are our very first space. We need to make those changes because in my eating from a more healthy perspective, my family therefore ate from a healthier perspective, and it makes a world of difference. Well, we are down to our last minute here. I want to make sure that folks can get in contact with you. What is the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, let's use the best way is going to be through email, and that's livewell@healthcoachshalynne.com. And once again, the name is spelled Shalynne. And if you want to give me a call, 248-509-0096.
Well, Mrs. Shalynne Barr, thank you so much for being on the show. I had a great time today spending time with you, talking about food and faith. It has absolutely been a really great morning with you. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you so much.
Well, listeners, I hope you have an awesome day today as well. And don't forget that eagles don't fly with pigeons, and shine your light for the world to see. Until next time, have an awesome day, everyone, and be blessed in the Lord. Bye-bye.